seeing some of our balance changes here. A lot of catalysts being utilized. I'm not too surprised on E-District too. You get to bunker down pretty. Looking around these doors. It's TSM sharing this building with Team Nemesis, though. They've taken a good amount of pressure already. TSM are going to be able to share this building. And this is something else about E-District that I really like. A lot of space to coexist for a lot of these teams. So you can expect a lot of these final zones, especially teams that like to prioritize their positioning into that final zone, to be sharing a lot more of that real estate.
Yeah, and of course, everyone that was able to hit up the ring console, seeing this one going down towards draft point, all the teams that had priority are already inside the next zone, except for Kinotrope Gaming coming out from Street Market there. But at this draft point circle, you don't really expect most of our teams to get too aggressive here. I think the timings on a lot of the rotations alone will stop a lot of early aggression, and I think the teams are just more than comfortable on holding these positions for now. We'll see how the rest of the teams rotate around for this one, but we are starting to see teams coming out from the eastern side of the map right now. There will be a moment where there's going to be a huge clash of teams on the northern side.
Yeah, instead, you want to be like Kinotrope here in this situation where their POI is Street Market. They're going to be able to wrap around to that south side, less contested by the teams that are moving in through that northeastern side, like you mentioned. Edward Gaming being one of the teams now actually rotating over to that south side where Shipyard Arcade does have a ring console. Comes in clutch if you want to try to play objective, especially since you know so many other teams that want to play patiently into that next zone won't really have those Evo shields boosted. We've been seeing a lot of damage output with poke pressure from the G7, the 30-30 thus far. Not too surprised we saw something very similar, when it comes to Scriptbugs.
Yeah, we have a small engagement here as teams are making their way on in. ALGS Year will utilize their wall to make it to the first floor. Team Nemesis ends up getting knocked out first here in game number 3. TSM gonna get an eye on this one, but I don't think there are really any trades on the other side.
I mean, look at this pileup. It's not only just TSM here, hearing a lot of this fighting going down right below them. Kinotrope have now made an appearance. ALGS too, who are player K falling incredibly low, already losing out on his shield tier 2. Yes, Yuka now makes an appearance, and TSM just hear all of this, trying to look around to see if maybe they could put in some poke pressure here too, but they're not going to be able to give up that space.
This is the results of a battle that took place in Energy Bank. I believe it was Fnatic Na'Vi and Movie Star Koi, and Movie Star Koi ended up getting caught in a pinch between these two teams. Na'Vi and Fnatic just back away. You see there, Fnatic were able to pick up 2 kills in that third party when they came in from the flank on the eastern edge. Kinotrope not completely safe yet. They'll go ahead and back away, but like you had mentioned, they did take their time over there at Street Market. It was a great rotation timing for them to slow things down just a little bit. But now they do have to worry about trying to keep that southwest side of the zone a little bit more clear, but a lot of teams are starting to hover around that area right now.
That's why they backed away too. It's so smart because you have the Ash Portal just as a getaway from a lot of this chaos here. They didn't want to commit to that fight versus TSM, and it was good timing too because Edward Gaming were looking to wrap up behind them. There's also an Evo Harvester to the south side on the outskirts of that zone, so they could be aware, specifically Kinotrope, of any other squads within the vicinity that may want to play objective and take that spot away from them. So they backtracked in a really good time, as Furia now are going to be able to wrap around Street Market with a ring console and that survey beacon too.
Yeah, you're on the board with Mouse Esports. They're on the northern side of Draft Point right now, eyeing up some of the members of Na'Vi coming out from Energy Bank currently. But this is a squad right now currently in a position that is heavily defendable. Of course, the Newcastle will help them out immensely here. They have a few more teams on the opposite end, but no one really has great sightlines on them. So this is a team that should be able to fight for a while, but right now, more than anything else, we're just waiting for the next ring zone like most of our squads.
And Curve is going off with the bow check, by the way, in the feed here. 18 squads left now. Thus far, we saw the early action with Team Nemesis and Movie Star Koi, who are out of this lobby for this third game. And so many other teams are now starting to pile up from that north side. Furia, a little bit less contested for them as they do have that ring console information to see where that zone pool is going to be pulling towards. And it's more directly kind of in the middle.
Right in the middle, so it doesn't give too much, it doesn't really favor any team, possibly Na'Vi, just because of how much of the pileup happened. We saw a lot of teams try to go to the western side, a lot of teams come in from the south, and so those teams that rotated in from the north now were not having that pileup that I expected. We have Na'Vi safely there on the northeast side. Edward Gaming, they did end up losing out on one when they tried to make the rotate deep into it. Remember, they were rotating around towards that south side of Shipyard. NIP, that was the moment of friction for them. They had to try and get past them. NIP were able to pick off one, I believe. And so now Edward Gaming in the middle of draft point have to figure out how to get their third back in.
Opina trying to get to see if you could get that banner. Not too sure if he was able to acquire. He felt some pressure. It looks like they did get the banner. They just have to deliver it over to the respawn beacon. They're not going to get pushed thus far. They have that beacon right to their backs here, seeing if they will have that timing. As you can see, Strafing Flame and company already making their way over. As we can see, NIP with the pings, with the knock here, with the bow check, primed and ready to go with the nade too.
That was the replay. I love it. Beautiful. I thought maybe it was like out of the sky. They went for an evac tower, but no. He was just able to find that angle, and it was lined up perfectly. Mouse Esports still here on the north side of draft point right now. They do have a number of teams around them. Team Orchid, Furia, AGAL, Sentinels, all around them right now. And no one is really ready to stir up the Hornet's Nest quite yet. No one is forced to move. And here, of course, in our 10-match set, you don't really want to give up anything for free. So just play for the placement points, play safely at this point. When we get towards game number 8, game number 9, that's where, you know, a little bit more of the desperation is going to come out. But for right now, at the early stages of this entire match, teams are going to play very conservatively.
Isaac giving me a little bit of a heart attack out here. I mean, he's got that shield bat ready to go, but taking some blank shots here, looking over to the side, also on Wraith, right? So you get that notification if somebody is trying to aim at you too. Getting that little heads up while Furia playing on that low ground, full purple Evos, whereas Na'Vi on the high ground, still rocking the full blue, but playing off this low ground, this is what Furia wanted to do, right? They got the ring console information from Street Market. They already got ahead of the curve. They're directly in the middle by draft point, which we know if you try to play by that bridge area, by the crates, there's so many open line sites that you have to be careful with, so that's why they're forced to play on that low ground.
It's the Madness special. Get you straight into dead center of the zone here, but that does mean, of course, they're not going to have the access to a lot of KP potential, right? Even if you do bring in the 30-30s or the G7 scouts, you just don't have the angles from that spot. Now, we are starting to see Noah's Fox coming in from the northern side, and because they delayed their rotation so much, they will get access to that mythic bid with no contest whatsoever.
Oh, we'll take those. Noah's with the objective in mind here. Two members are just going to be able to float around with that Crypto Drone to also get any scans that they may need. Maybe even a respawn there with the beacon being right there. And that mythic bid on top of it all. As Kino Trip are going to be able to get the scan, see where everybody is situated at, right by that zip line, where Zero Tenacity is now situated on that low ground. But look, TSM being right there next to Edward Gaming.
Edward Gaming were finally able to find that moment to get their third back in. Now they do have to deal with, like you had mentioned, that huge pile of TSM out Katsia. But in a few short moments, you've got NIP that have to move out, Kinotrope, Zero Tenacity, a lot of teams here on the south side. On the north, that's where a lot of that pressure was alleviated, and we have a major pull, but we have a big fight coming out now. As Zero Tenacity have already lost out on one.
And it was the arcs there too that just did enough. Great nade coming in from Fuda. Kinotrope just trying to stay alive. Yuka now going to be able to drop down here too. Going to be popped the shield back, but he was still pretty healthy while his teammates had lost out on their shield a little bit earlier on. The Mirage plays. You've been bamboozled, just trying to reposition here. This is still going to be able to play off that high ground, but they're going to take their time to recover.
Yeah, losing out on one. Both teams going for the full reset at this point. They will have some time to try and plug their teammates back on in, but this is going to be difficult. The quick moment, though, never mind. There it is, Pero with a knockdown on Phoenix, but can they punish this one? Looks like with the new castle slowing things down, not going to be a moment to really punish them yet.
Man, Yuka with the ballistic, letting that Rampage sing, by the way. All juiced up while we get the Mirage Res on top of it all. Giving that green light, though, for other teams to now make their way into the vicinity. 0-10 still trying to recover, while TSM looking ahead here, playing still inside this building.
Yeah, for a lot of the teams that are still inside the zone, they don't know about the next pull, but we do have a major shift in the next ring. It's going to be pulling over to the southeast side of draft point, where currently Fnatic, Enter Force 36, and Team Falcons are in position for it. The rest of the lobby are going to have to fight it out from that northwest side to make it in. Furia, who we had seen earlier on in that low ground, will have to be forced to really try and avoid a lot of that fighting, with about 10 teams coming their way.
Even better when Watson was the first to go out here in our Legend lineup. as you get to yeet these nades inside of these side buildings on E District. They lose on Phoenix as Zero Tenacity are out making their rotate, trying to see if they can recover here, while Edward Gaming stuck as a solo, only up to 3MC here, and even with these hipfire shots, you can't clutch it out. Zero Tenacity still trying to stay alive after Edward Gaming get eliminated.
Yeah, that brings us down to 17 squads. The fighting is not over quite yet. We still have so many teams now rotating in with the ring closing behind them. For Kinotrope, it is the slower side of the ring at the very least, but they are going to try and move in. TSM, though, looking to hold it out here on the southwest side. And now we'll see if they can keep them down or at least alleviate a lot of the pressure here. Let's go ahead and listen in with TSM as they keep eyes on this squad.
这边没空来，他要守自己的，我们要搞
我们下播，听说我们卡后面，但我们得在这个墙，你知道吗？这边上面东西会来人的。
打起来了。对啊，
这边上面是想看这边。
上面没人，我们右边是不是有一队？
对，我们只要卡后面，右边不管他，右边他有圈。
这回墙
后面卡了，把后面卡了。
呀，我操！空中可以拿，空中可以拿。
小心，小心。
I think that might have been Kinotrope and TSM
At the same time.
At the same time. But you know what? At least it was both squads at this point. But AGAL will be the next team eliminated here, Vicky.
I just love how the energy is matched though, right?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it transcends languages literally from both of these teams. As Furia find 2 knocks onto Mounts, they're the next to go. 15 squads left, by the way, and round 4 is about to close in the next 35 seconds.
That was an important moment for Furia, who, if they did not move at that time, would have been caught up in a huge scramble. We had maybe 7 teams in that northwest side of Draft Point, but Furia were able to make it into zone for Zero Tenacity. They're still battling it out to try and make it in. TSM, though, are on the verge of knocking them out. Zero Tenacity are taken out, but they have to be worried about the third party.
TSM looking pretty good here though. Quick recovery. Alkatsia still playing right underneath them. TSM are going to give it a recover off of this, get right back onto high ground before they're going to have to eventually start moving. Looking at that next zone, though, it's Furia who are settled right next to Fnatic, and Falcons works great into the rotate in their game here as TSM get the next knock. It is Duke popping off. Duke as he finds Player K and Strafing Flame, and they're chasing after the Straggler.
Remember how just before the game you were like, you know, the weapon meta right now, I wish we saw a little bit more. We got the R99s and the P2020s in play. Thank you so much, TSM, at least for that. It's not just Devo Gaming here in the ALGS. Right now, TSM clearing out that western side. Their work is not done. They've got NIP up on the high ground, Sentinels on the low ground. TSM need to move forward here with the rings to their back.
Evo Gaming sounds like that could be a pretty hard name for an esport org, and it's, you know, the current composition that we keep seeing in this weapon meta. TSM stuck in the middle, forced to drop down with the Newcastle walk here, slamming it down, but they lose out in Jet. In the process, Wolves Esports on the other side of this cat wall. This is why we're seeing so much cat. The Akibo P20s, though, they find Jet, they find the finishing blow, but they don't find the clutch. How in the feed, then get a knock with the nades, but Dupe's been popping up with the P20s.
NIP are here for the third party, though. Genji getting eliminated. Wolves Esports trying to survive just a little bit longer. NIP will not be able to deliver the crushing blow. TSM now surviving, I believe, with 1 player remaining inside the zone. They had to go for a miracle play, right? They were delayed so long by Alkatsia coming in for that third party, or coming in for that last engagement, that they were forced to evac tower right on top of Wolves. But now Ninjas in Pajamas charging forward, the Devo in hand, the last bullet not quite there. No name survives for the time being, but NIP will go ahead and finish them off.
Literally was one shot, by the way. TSM are staying alive here, though, no matter what. They've taken onto the roof. E36 get eliminated. I see Panic popping off here, too. Together, TSM are riding on some momentum. They have to get the res here. They got that Newcastle. They got the purple knock, and they have the stairwell to get out of line of sight, while Nox gets res right on top of their heads.
Oh my goodness. We're now down to 9 squads here. TSM huddling in the corner here, trying their best to survive. Duplex down to 1 HP as they drop down. The retreat covered by the Archers from Jets. And that might be enough to allow them to restabilize once again. can see now 4 teams stacked on top of this building. We've got Furia, Fnatic, TSM, and Noisebox.
All right, Liberal Ace is trying to get a little cheeky right here with the Kraber, trying to take the zipline all the way up. We get the Ash Portal from NIP to jump right on top of their heads. And Fnatic were also right there, side by side. They find Forupa in the process. 9 squads left. Liberal Ace tries to get the hipfire shot with the Kraber here, but he doesn't even need it. He drops down. It's a slight trade here with the Havoc as Fnatic make their way up.
Fnatic, though, they have to worry about the third party coming out. Now Liberal Ace does end up getting finished off, as we have, what, ALGS now coming in from the outside also. So a huge pileup of squads now on this one building. The other main building that's still involved here, we got Team Falcons and I believe Na'Vi. But Na'Vi just positioned themselves away to the north. Fnatic looking to finish the job on this fight. Have not been able to recover Liberal Ace whatsoever. Yuka back in the drone possibly in the fray. So much fighting taking place right now. Na'Vi versus ALGS currently. So they might have an opportunity to get the third back in.
This is like a 4-5 team pilot. Look at this right now. Strafing Flame survives, gets the wall up, gets into a crevice, just trying to live his life. 8 squads left still. The survivability on each district makes it so entertaining. And guess who's just watching all this chaos unfold in front of them? It's Na'Vi, uncontested, on the northernmost side of this final zone, which is about to get so chaotic in the next 10 seconds.
Falcons also watching on. And so really it's between these two teams to really try and finish things off, right? Falcons were eyeing out Na'Vi, looking possibly to try and push in. And, you know, try to take them out early on before that 4-team fight kind of fizzles there in that one building. But for the time being, it looks like Na'Vi have full control over this northern side. Team Falcons are more than okay with walking it in from their south position. They're going to allow these teams to just whittle it all down.
Really like Na'Vi's positioning right now. Our former champ winners looking to take this game here. Sentinels, though, have to be careful with those blue Evo shields, having to wrap around. Nice shots from Panic here as TSM have managed to stay alive. They have the loot at their feet, too. So not lacking on loot in general, looks like. Maybe lacking a little bit on that light ammo. Look at NIP. They got the armor swap for days just in case here, right at their feet, while Furia still play right underneath them. Sentinels get eliminated. 6 squads left as the zone starts closing in.
Yeah, Sentinels didn't have a single floor in this building whatsoever to play off of. I think they were just trying to play from the outside, and so that left them the most vulnerable. But now we're waiting it out. We've got another maybe 10, 15 seconds before four teams are forced and evicted out of these buildings. Falcons also on an awkward timing here, where they're gonna have to drop out too. Na'Vi keeping an eye on them as Fnatic are looking for a drop down themselves. Now Furia timing their heels. They're all gonna poke out. TSM out, and they have set up.
NIP, they find 2 knots into Na'Vi. Everybody in the lobby uses their Ash Portal to get closer to that next zone. We see the knocks, we see the double catwalls, and we see Furia jumping in from the high ground, from the fence line. Fnatic get eliminated. Final 3 squads, TSM, Furia, and Team Falcons as Furia loses out on 1. Falcons pretty up to try to wrap around here. Last 2 squads as Furia are the champions. But what chaotic final zone for our last 3 teams to collapse on one another, with Furia taking over the high ground there before sliding down and cleaning up what was left in front of them.
And I mean, I feel like it continues to happen here on E-District, where we just get some wonky, weird Ash portals on top of the winning team position that kind of throws things all for a loop. Great recovery from Furia. We've seen them from being able to really capitalize off of having priority on zone. We saw them get into the center of draft point, but the most important part was that ring 3 transition for them. They moved so much faster than the other teams to try and get into one of the priority buildings when we had that shift down to the southeast side.
And you know why they were able to get that information? Because they took their time rotating from their POI over by Blossom Drive to Street Market, where there was a ring console, played a little bit on the outskirts of zone, and then found their way down in the dead center part of that next zone that they had called out, playing the Furia away, right?
The teams out from zone. As you can see here, all these teams are coming from countdown side. They're all eliminating each other. Falcons just dropped the fuse ult, and at that point, it's just letting those Devos rip, and you can close it out. Now, they were a little bit split in this end game. Things got potentially a little bit dicey as Hal did go down, but regardless, it didn't matter because the Falcons, they've got the firepower to clean things up, and they're able to get it done.
Wasn't a lot of aggression from those teams as well fighting through. They were so busy with each other. Wolves, Sentinels, Gingy in the mix there, as well as TSM, who would play a bigger role in Game 3 after Falcons celebrate, take their headphones off. It's because, they want to rest, but they also want to hear the crowd shouting their name, Lauren. But this would be TSM's moment here in Game 3.
Yeah, and this is the chaos that we were talking about. We're going to get to a point where you're going to see all of these teams stacked on top of each other inside this final building. And like I mentioned, Fnatic being one of those squads. TSM was in here, NIP was in here, Na'Vi was in here. I mean, this was so much chaos, and people were able to stay alive in this building for so long. NIP had tried to get that rooftop, which they were able to claim the space of and able to hold for a while, but under them, so many of these other squads, Furia included, Kinotrope was in here, ALGS Year was in here. Everyone was trying to fight for space. We thought it might have been NIP at the top who were able to utilize the roof and maybe have better angles. They end up dropping down, pushing through, and Furia able to close this out. And I'm glad that we get to see this out of Furia here after that Catwall had split everything in half and able to win, because we talked about whether or not they were going to be able to show up here, and they were able to get the win in Game 3 already.
They certainly were.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things I noticed out of the NA team specifically is their ability to jump on teams when things are getting hectic. We watched TSM get constant resets over and over and over, and we were all commenting in the back, like, why are these teams not cleaning this up, cleaning their backs? And we saw the pileup that happened there in the countdown side. And if teams just decided to clean this up, they wouldn't have to worry about this. They would have been able to play the field. And I think that's the biggest thing. We saw NIP in the last game, tons of kills. AG in the first game, tons of kills. It's that confidence that they have that is propelling them to the top of the leaderboard right now.
First day jitters, you could be just warming up, feeling this lobby as well, players getting used to this. But guys, we've got a big segment that we've got to rush to, because I need to hear some conversation that's as fiery as the gameplay that we've just been watching. That's why we're not going for hot takes. We're going for our doctor's notes here, which means we're getting Jayhawk and Snipedown involved in a discussion, and I need to know what the prescription is. What have you prescribed for your doctor's notes? Of course, the segment, thanks to Dr. Suleiman, I'll help you.
Yeah, let me prescribe everyone some knowledge real quick, because I have a take, and I've had this take, I think, for almost a year at this point. I said it in Japan, and I don't think a lot of people have really caught on to this belief of mine. I believe that Zainu is the individual best player in the world right now. I'm not talking about all time. Okay. Listen, I know the Zero and the Imperial Hal debate, it exists. They've got all the championships. But Zainu's got two of himself, and ultimately I believe he's the most flexible player in the world. We've seen him lead North American Pro League his rookie season in kills. We've seen him win a LAN playing Watson with SSG as the anchor player. And I think if you go listen to his comms, he could IGL a team, quite frankly, if he wanted to. So I believe that Zainu is the best player. I think he's the most valuable player, and I think that he is the most flexible player in the world.
High praise.
Yeah, I mean, my take is that I just think it's undeniable that Hal is still the best player in the game due to just the kill records. I mean, the numbers that he puts up consistently. He's IGL'd, he's been IGL'd, so he's shown that he can do both. He can be flexible. We've seen him play Newcastle. We've seen him play everything as well. I think the number one thing, it wasn't great. His crypto was also very questionable. That's a complete axe. But I think the biggest thing for Zainu, because I will give him his flowers. I mean, he's got wins on two separate teams. I am waiting for him to IGL because I know.
I would agree.
I think that's his next step, because you can tell, I mean, even when he was playing with Phony, that there comes times where he loses confidence in his IGL and he tries to start to take over and maybe calm too much. Zero has said this when he played with him. And I think that he is so aware of how talented that he is, that until he feels like, when he starts to IGL, I think is when we see him at that top of the level, because he's right there. But you got to give it to Hal still. I just can't go any other way.
Like I said, if we're talking all time, I'll go Hal. Okay. If we're talking individual best fragger, I'll go Hal. If we talk best IGL, there's a debate there with him and Zero. If we're talking the entire package,
where does Zainu come in here?
Entire package,
Zainu's getting
the best all-around player.
Wow,
I'm going Zainu.
All right, Zainu getting the prescribed doctor's note there from Jayhawk today. Maybe Snipe will bring us something tomorrow. We'll find out. That's been your Doctor Note segment as well for this afternoon. And of course, if you guys have been watching, you've been watching your way, hopefully, by using Face It Watch. One of the beautiful things that we add to our experience in the ALGS, you can go to Face It Watch and add multi-view. You could add that map screen, which gives you all the detailed information on those rotations. Like Jayhawk mentioned earlier, Mouse versus Edward Gaming. How's that going? As we switch maps, does it increase? Does it decrease? How about listening to some of the team comms? Will there be another crash out live at EWC? You can catch it first if you've got those monitors pulled to faceit.com/watch, so you can have a chance to watch it your way. And obviously, Lauren, it's the name of the game. Just, everybody, we're trying to get a map screen over here. We love a map screen.
Oh, yeah, I've got everything pulled up.
All right, guys, it's 3 games in, 3 more to go till you see us again. So, casters, let's get the action back going.
Thank you so much, Rain Day. We got everything going on, everything but Snipe Down's luggage. But it's okay. At least our legends are loaded into our 4th match here. And, highlighting what we saw at the very end there, very chaotic. Furia having that slight high ground before sliding in, talking about how they even got there in the first place. Something that was important to mention, though, were the end game catwalls, too, that were specifically put up in that final zone just to split up a lot of that attention. And going into this next E-District game, Jamerson, I'm expecting the Catalyst to continuously be a problem.
We'll see, because we still have the Legend Band system in play here. Match number 3, of course, it was the Ash that saw the X there, and that's 2 mobility legends now gone with that altar from game number 2. And we're going to see if there's going to be a more pickup of rates, possibly, but from what I'm seeing right now, currently in the lobby, it doesn't seem like a lot of teams are actually going for that mobility. Some of them are actually opting for more aggressive. The ballistic that we were seeing throughout Split 2 pick up more and more favorability throughout a lot of our team picks, but it might be a mixture right there between Wraith and Ballistic, so a kind of parting in ways of what our squads want to do here in match number 4.
Man, I hear those Devos in my nightmares. It's like my sleep paralysis demon, and then you add in the Ballistic. It's a cherry on top of just nightmares and crying.
It's never ending because, you pop that Tempest, you've got double, maybe triple Devo, right?
Oh, no.
You don't need to go triple. You just go double, and then you're just constantly just switching weapons. Never reload, 45 seconds Devo, completely swinging. But here in match number 4, on E-District, our second time on E-District, we do have a different pull. It is going north, but we don't have a ring console pickup quite yet, so we don't know how far it's going to go, but we're probably expecting a Lotus pick here.
Wouldn't be too surprised, honestly. A lot of teams are already on their rotate. We've even seen a zone like this pull on the outskirts of Electro Dam, which actually would benefit Fnatic, considering that is their POI. They can hold on to high ground. They also had access to a ring console that's right there. Of course, a survey beacon being at every POI too, just scanning maybe a little bit later to see where everybody is going already ahead of time. Na'Vi being one of those teams already positioned there, as you can see right here, but also rocking the crypto, so they can get some information with that survey beacon remotely and then pinpoint where they want to sit.
Yeah, we'll see where they decide to go. A lot of teams a little bit slower on the rotation right now, as we've got plenty of teams still at their home drops, so not as many as we had in game number 3, match number 3, highly prioritizing getting into draft point. I think for a lot of our squads, though, they are starting to make their way on in. With Enterforce 36, though, they've got a few teams around them. They've got Fnatic to their north right now that they have to worry about, but we do have an early engagement. Movie Star Koi, we're knocked out early on in match number 3, but they will take out Zero Tenacity.
Booted him in the middle of that rotate there too. You can see crypto drones flying overhead, just getting information to see if the fight was done, and indeed it is. Right in the distance though, they're going to be able to reset. I'm wondering if that could have been Na'Vi. That's to their north side. Movie Star Koi are rather isolated. One of the teams rocking the Sparrow, and looking to see if maybe they could get even more information, because obviously Gen G are going to be able to come out of Lotus eventually. There is a survey beacon right there too, but so many teams have already gotten ahead on their rotate over to the northeastern side.
Yeah, Alcutsias are here, Mouse, Wolves. Enemy. We had a small fight. Enterforce 36, I believe, got a few knocks on to Orchid, or at least one knock and a finish at the very least for Alcutsia. They're just going to be playing on the outside of this wall. I love this. Without having the altar in play, you don't really have to worry about teams just kind of coming up behind you for free. So they do have that back cleared for themselves and that Newcastle wall down to give themselves that extra defensive capability. Team Orchid will get eliminated though, finally. Enterforce 36 with the help of Na'Vi will finish them off.
And Na'Vi just sitting pretty by that fence line, by that zip line building too, taking that finishing blow there over to Team Orchid, but holding this positioning too, while also making sure that they're not going to get pinched from behind with a team that could try to pepper them down from the high ground. It's all about getting that information, and it works great into their team composition, considering they have the rotates available to them with the Wraith. They have the Crypto Drone. You can see how they're going to be able to get information, just get the scan ahead of time, because there's other teams now rotating from that south side. Aside from Movie Star Koi, entered Force 36 being right there too, as well as ALGS Year.
Now, we've also got Fnatic, who I believe do drop Electro Dam, playing very much on the edge of that zone. And really, I do like how they're approaching this one. For Sentinels, though, making their way on in, they've got Edward Gaming to their south. They've got another team above them. Was going to be AG. We'll see if they come to blows here, but I think all three teams are more than okay with just holding their positions for the time being, play off the chokes, make sure that they control that, and no team comes to try and push through. For Fnatic, though, this is a squad that should see no teams really coming in their direction. A lot of the squads that have entered into Electro Dam from the south side are basically playing the gatekeepers for them. Fnatic just extremely safe there. We'll see, though, if they can try and convert this into a Zone 4, Zone 5, get a top 10 for themselves at the very least.
Because it's always scary to play out of Electro Dam, because you know the zone is going to continuously go over to your south side, and once you're forced out of that high ground position, it's what? Little to no cover. You're basically out in the open once you're forced to drop down from the dam side of things. Na'Vi are holding one lot, and then you have, what, 3 teams holding that right lot that we saw Fnatic in, basically sitting that ring console. As we get to see a fight here. Mouse were able to get that knock. The piercing spikes doing just enough. This is against ALGS Year as they get eliminated. 17 spots left, and you can see Aku with the Wraith. They're going to be able to get right back, trying to see if they can get the reset. But look who's waiting for them is Sentinels that get a whiff of the fight.
They're able to port back just in time and survive, with the res coming out to get 0-0 back up on his feet. So Mouse not punished quite yet. Sentinels not quite having the lay of the land here to see if they can try and follow up on this one as we get a better look. Zone ends up closing. Will this end up continuing to pull up towards Electro Dam, maybe favor Galleria? And it's still that 50-50 split. Fnatic are still safe there as we had a pretty hard shift on to that side. Now, a few teams are still lazing about on the outside of the zone. A few of them, Kinotrope Gaming there, about to get involved in a fight. Furia slow rotating through this one, of course. They were coming out from Blossom Drive, and so they did not have any kind of priority here. They'll take their time. It's Team Nemesis on the other side of this fight, up against Kinotrope Gaming.
Kinotrope dancing around these zip lines here. Cannon just trying to find them up on the high ground while Team Nemesis still have that rooftop. Zuni's able to get away to pop that medkit hopefully here. With 16 squads still left though, and other teams taking their time to rotate. Kinotrope and Team Nemesis will have a much more isolated fight, and whoever comes out on top of this fight specifically could take their time, get the scan of the ring console over to their south side, and then another ring console on their pathing over to the north side on the east side of Energy Bank, away from Furia, who are already going to get a scan on the survey beacon, and then Furia specifically could position themselves in the southeastern choke to try to gatekeep Kinotrope, or at least the winners of this fight that we're currently seeing.
Yeah, they've got the survey beacon, they've got the ring console as well. So the timing for this fight is going to be important for all gamers, though. Looks like Falcons making their play. Zap extremely low, and all gamers will get knocked out. We're down to 15 squads here in match number 4, and Team Falcons have not slowed down whatsoever this set.
They're crazy. Getting some energy from the fans. You saw them holding up those signs. They're just built different here, but they got to keep this energy throughout the course of this week. Looking great with 54 points, still getting some KP to their name, and while they loot up, the team that's going to be coming up from their south side on the edge of this next zone will be Furia, who have already scanned that survey beacon, so they saw that fight earlier on go down. They have the scan too on that ring console, and they're going to be able to now slowly approach this without trying to put themselves in the middle between Team Falcons and NIP.
Wants it's Kinotrope Gaming to go down here as Nemesis. Really cut them off. This was an extremely long fight, by the way. Yeah. It was taking place for like the last 2-3 minutes there. And finally, Team Nemesis were able to get the heads up on that one. They are going to be delayed, but like you had mentioned, they have a nice rotate through here. They will have the survey beacon along with the ring console. as they make their way on in. And so they're not going to be really caught unawares, right? It's not a blind rotate for them. They have plenty of time to really suss out a game plan for themselves, but the path to get into the next zone is still going to be difficult, right? You had mentioned Fury can cut them off. Ninjas in pajamas are already in position there on the eastern side, and even then it gets tougher because you got Mouse, you got Sentinels still playing that southeast side of Electro Dam.
NIP is always really good on their rotate too on E District. They're actually one of the teams that find the most success on E District. And I specifically would prefer this rotate here into that next zone versus going through Galleria where you see a huge congestion spot, but are trying to engage from afar here, having that boat tech primed and ready to go. Trying to find some spacing here as Carter's forced to drop right down, calling the cat wall. At least that's more utility forced out, but having to be careful as Curiv is in the line of sight right there by the other team over to their left side, just going to be able to get over to the slip and pop this shield back.
Yeah, solid retreat there. They don't have to overcommit for this one. Again, there's still plenty of teams alive. You are still trying to play for the placement points. During this time, though, Team Falcons, playing off of Galleria, were able to secure themselves that mythic bin. I thought maybe Furia would come in to try and contest that one, but Furia with Team Falcons with full control over it will be able to secure that for themselves. Have the extra loot, that's going to be strong for them. But with this ring closed, we do have a pull. It is going to be going over towards the Electro Dam side of that wall as we have another small engagement here. TSM just peppering Gen G currently.
And Fnatic have managed to make their way down south from Electro Dam too. That's important while TSM looking at that portal, looking to reset. We had Gen right underneath them here. Seeing if they want to try to get involved in this fight for right now without giving up this space here before they eventually have to get closer here to try to take them out. But Gen G and TSM also have that server beacon to their north side. And do you know who's going to wait for them here? Whoever comes out on top from this fight is Movie Star Koi, who need these points, right? They've been pretty lackluster over the course of these last 4 games, still sitting all the way in 20th place with only 5 points. And those points were only able to be obtained this game.
Yeah, like Dan said, though, it's not a sprint, it's not a marathon.
Sure, yeah.
It's somewhere in between. Not quite a 5K either, maybe a half marathon, I don't know. So you have plenty of time. You have plenty of time, right? And I think that I like how Falcons had approached this, right? You get that first pick on on World's Edge. You dominate there, get great points, and then from there, you get to see how you need to play. If you're on the other side of the coin where you first pick and you have a really bad first 2 maps, well, you still have 8 maps afterwards to try and catch up. You can adjust your play in regard to it and have a lot more flexibility in that regard.
What I love about our expansive map pool that we have going on. You see the survey beacon that's scanned. Falcons on the other side of this choke. It's Duke that's taken over to the high ground, and to the right side choke is Furia, who are getting involved in this fight. Up ahead, you talk about the Tempest, you talk about the Devo, and you let it ring here as Nocta trying to close in the gap, trying to follow up off the EMP.
Yeah, Team Nemesis trying to cut off Furia. They were both able to basically hit the scans around the same time and get their way on in. Nemesis resetting on the low at this point, though, and Furia decide we're not going to actually stick around for this fight. We know that multiple teams are here and fighting. We know that there was a team inside Galleria beforehand, and instead they're going to opt to disengage from this fight and start working their way into the next zone. But like we had mentioned, the path to get into the next zone is not safe at all whatsoever. Movie star Koi and Na'Vi, though, currently in a fight here on the northern side. Gen G looking for the third party.
This is big, though. If Movie Star Koi could at least confirm this KP, even better. Na'Vi trying to run for their life while Gen G invited to the party a little late here to go in for that 3P. 12 squads left. Blinker clutches it. He gets that finishing blow here, but can he clutch it out? No. Movie Star Koi get eliminated, but again, at least they got the KP that they needed. Even better for Gen G to finish off what was left, as the still solo left from Na'Vi has stayed alive over to the south side.
We'll see how long he can survive for. If you want to rat on any character, though, the Wraith is fairly handy. We've seen, of course, in the history of Apex Legends, how well she can do it, but we don't also get to see that much ratting when cryptos are in play. Right, the drone's gonna be flying around. We've also got the sparrows, the darts. So we'll see how long he can survive for. Now though, Nemesis, round number 2 again. This time though, it's gonna be Team Falcons coming in from that height. And it looks like Team Nemesis are trying their best to stay converge on each other, but it looks like that first knock from Team Falcons might just be too much.
The Falcons are farming right now. Like they're they're literally playing with so much aggression. They know they don't have anything to lose at this point. They're just going to try to send it at this time, too. They had gotten that crack originally on the Sparrow. They slide in with the Devo. Zuni's the next victim, and now only one member left from Team Nemesis.
Yeah, NIP throughout all of that, we're eyeing this one up, but no real trades coming out from that fight. And so Team Falcons will be able to move up with the zone closing in on them right now. Nemesis Kaishiha, Brad versus Brad, and it's a Taco that's got the Volt to finish him off. He secures kill leader for himself as the Rat there on the western edge.
Dude, that was like the Spider-Man copycat meme. Like, they both wanted to go in the same corner, just the reset, except one of them just tried to pop the shield back.
But one of them wasn't pointing, the other one had a gun.
Yeah, literally. Oh man, you love it when you see moments like that. Well, Falcons, by the way, off the Hail Mary fly in front of everybody. I mean, literally jumped in without the catwalk being called in first in front of two different teams. Mouse try to fully extend on this. The nades come hurling in. Great space coverage, just so that way they can try to reset in this corner.
Yeah, Falcons just really didn't have an option. They took way too long there at Galleria. They knew that NIP were holding that south side, but it looks like they will be able to get a reset.
All right, Zero, I see you hitting those. I see you. Hit fire Kraber shots. Okay. A little schmoving going on here while Mouse, they saw the advantage, and look how quickly it escaped through their fingers. But with Panic literally one shot, they eliminate TSM from the lobby thus far. Mouse are still sharing the other side of Falcons. They're outside this next zone, and a lot of the chaos is happening to their north side. It's 3 squads fighting over to the north. It's E36, Gen G, and Wolves right now. So if they want to move up, this is the time to do it.
Yeah, and our 2 squads inside zone right now. NIP and Fnatic here as Team Falcons were able to full reset. Again, it was a very dicey situation for themselves. Mouse, though, been a little bit more, a bit off more than they could chew at that point, but Falcons now moving forward. That red armor giving them so much more extra HP to really survive throughout a lot of this here. As Enter Force 36 dropping down now. Gen G holding the angle, but they're going to chase after it. Dexter's the first one to go down. And Gen G Esports on the verge of getting knocked out. We're now down to 6 squads.
That was a heavy Evo Shield dip. Now guess what? The third party comes in once again from Mouse here. Wolves now trying to stay alive. Hit fire shots off these R9s, and the 5 squads left. While this collapse is still happening on the north side, it's going to be Wolves versus Mouse.
See who comes out ahead. I think it might be the Wolf, but Fnatic here on the fight up against... Well, I don't even know.
I mean,
it happened so quick.
It's against Team Falcons, honestly. They're still alive. It's just we're getting whiplash going from one fight to another. Mouse going to be able to pick up that banner right at their feet. You saw those nades hurtled in their direction. NIP now looking to engage on Mouse, and that's with NIP getting that res earlier. NIP win this fight, and Falcons over to the south side are sharing some of the space with Fnatic, but Falcons down a member. Only 2 of them left.
Yeah, we're split here. Final 3 squads. NIP controlling that northern bridge. Fnatic here, though, with that one thirst, we're able to pick up at least that red helmet for themselves. Lively's taking a lot of damage. They don't quite have the punch to try and finish things off. NIP know that they've got the utility here, and now it's all up left for Zero to try and survive for as long as possible, but NIP are on the hunt.
Looking for it. Zero's been hitting some of these Kraber shots, but with the Devo at his back, good luck. NIP now looking down, taking free range over Fnatic. The catwalls were called in from Fnatic, but they've already scrambled like flies here as McLovin just letting the Devo roar with only 62 bullets in the armory.
Zero is able to survive, and he's going to try and hold it down, but that Kraber shot ends up missing. McLovin holding an angle on one end, and NIP converge. That's going to be NIP taking match number 4. But Falcons with another top finish there. 2nd place in match number 4. They have not slowed down whatsoever.
Not at all. Huge game here from NIP too. We were just talking about NIP converting a lot of these E-District games into a plethora of points. And not only do they take the dub, they take it with 12 KP to their name.
That puts them at 2nd place overall with 48 points after 4 matches here. That was a great conversion for them. Again, they did a great job of not rushing into Galleria, just holding the choke, which is one of the most important things when it comes to E-District, especially when with how the meta works out, with how the Legend Banner works out, getting rid of the Ultra, getting rid of the Ashe, getting rid of so much mobility to get around a lot of these chokes. Well, now NIP were able to really utilize that position to pick up the KP.
Yeah, and Cat being the next one banned is important. How many catwalls did we see in a zone like that where it pulls towards the riverside on E District specifically? That's why you don't see that same pile up that you would have had for match number 3, where these zones have much more buildings inside that final zone specifically, so you see a lot more teams coexisting. Better look here, NIP not only taking that dub once again with 12 KP, but Mouse too, who had timed a lot of third parties to get 11 KP to their name, as we see some of our top performers.
Importantly for Mouse, what I really do want to note for their performance there in match number 4 is that they went for an aggressive timing for an early fight on zone 1 closing, which I think really did catch off the team. I don't remember which team it was that ended up going down first, but they were able to get that early fight, catch teams off guard, and they were able to continue on with that. I think they got a little bit over aggressive when they tried to go after Team Falcons when they went for that drop.